30 Questions in 30 Days, Day 3. Today's question comes from Erica via Facebook. And Erica asks, what do you do when you know you have a gift but aren't sure how to use it? For example, I'm able to get very powerful visual images when I do meditate. For example, I have done guided meditations. The message that comes through is rarely with words at all or with any sound. So it can be challenging to interpret the visuals, much less try to find the words to explain to others. Sometimes the knowing or interpretation is multi-layered as well. At the same time, it always feels so real, it's mind-blowing, yet I don't often understand the images immediately, or it can take a while to decode and process it, not sure how to use this in practical ways. That's a really good question. You know, one of the things that I realized very early on in my journey and learning how to use my gifts, and I had a mentor tell me very early on in the beginning and said, Andrew, this work has nothing to do with you. And what he meant by that was, it doesn't have to make sense to you. I'll give you a quick example. I was doing, this was very early on in my experience, and I was doing an oracle card reading for a client. And I am not really a medium in the sense that I connect with loved ones from the other side. I don't really hang out in the fourth density a lot, and that's not where a lot of my information comes from. However, during this oracle card reading, I kept seeing this image of a yellow bucket, and it didn't really make sense to me, and I was trying to understand why this image was coming up, and I kept pushing it to the side, and the reading wasn't really going anywhere, and I kept like butting up against this block, and I couldn't get the information in. So I finally said, just sort of in a moment of exasperation, I said to her, I said, I keep seeing a yellow bucket. Does that mean anything to you? And immediately, like, her face was just like, oh my God. And she said, my grandfather recently passed away, and when I was a little girl, he had a house on the beach, and we used to go visit him and my grandmother a lot, and he had a yellow bucket. It was a sand pail, and we used to love to go to the beach and make sandcastles with the yellow bucket. The minute that I acknowledged what I saw, even though it didn't make any sense to me, the reading just totally opened up, and it went in a new direction, and it was all about this insight and information that was coming through from her grandfather. So I think the first thing to understand is that, especially when we're bringing through messages for other people, it may not make sense to us, and that's okay. Because as an oracle or a medium or a channel, you're the radio. You're the one that sends and receives the information, but the information may not necessarily have anything to do with you. Another way to experiment with it or to begin to expand your gift, if you're meditating and you see an image or you see a visual in your mind, just pick up a pen and paper and begin to write on that image, right? So you could say, in my meditation today, I saw a yellow bucket. And when I started thinking about a yellow bucket, I was reminded of this time, and just let a stream of consciousness come through. You may find that that image or that visual that you get is not the message itself. Sometimes that's the breadcrumb that you follow to the next image or the next visual or the next insight or information that opens it up. So oftentimes it's not really the image or the visual that you're receiving that's the message. It is sort of the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So it's a way to get you in the flow to begin to be in the process of opening up the message. So if you're talking with someone, or if you're delivering a message that you have for someone, or you're working with someone and you're trying to give them information or receive information for them, just acknowledge whatever comes through, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And I think one of the things we oftentimes forget is that this communication that we have with spirit and with our spiritual family, our non-physical family, our guides, whatever you want to call it, is a two-way conversation. So if you're getting information that isn't clear to you, you can ask, okay, I'm seeing a yellow bucket, guys. What does that mean? Can you give me more information? Or what am I supposed to do with this information? Or, hey, message received, got the yellow bucket. Now, what else do you need me to know? Or is there something else you need me to know? Also begin to pay attention to synchronicity. Let's say you got the yellow bucket message just as an example in meditation, and you're not really sure what that means, but you just sort of put that on the back burner. Keep your eyes and ears open for anything else that conjures up that image. Maybe you see a yellow bucket somewhere and that's the message. Maybe you hear someone talking about it, right? So I think that in the beginning, especially when we're trying to figure out our gifts, it's like anything else. You just kind of have to figure it out as you go along, and practice is one of the ways that I have found really allows me to understand. Sometimes I will go into meditation specifically and say, okay, give me an image, give me something to begin with. Especially when I used to do my soul expansion calls, it was always me tuning in a meditative way, and I would see an image and I would just share with the group, okay, I'm seeing a palm tree, and what I'm getting from the palm tree is I see it swaying in the breeze, and I'm getting the idea that it's about flexibility in the wind and in the chaos and the turmoil that's surrounding us. It's important that we stay rooted and remain flexible in who we are, but always rooted in that truth, right? So there's messages and insight that comes through in all sorts of ways. So I think if you relax a little bit, make it more of a game or something that's a little more playful. Don't take it too seriously, because again, it really has nothing to do with you, especially when you're dealing with someone else. And getting over the fear of perhaps of being wrong. That was a big thing for me too, was feeling like, oh my God, well, what if I bring through information that doesn't mean anything to them? As long as you feel you're in your integrity, as long as you can safely say, yeah, I was as honest as I knew how to be in that moment, and I was sharing the insight that I was getting, didn't necessarily mean anything to them, oh well, not every reading is going to be a slam dunk. That to me, I think, is the best approach that I have found, and remembering that it's going to take time sometimes for us to begin to really open up these gifts, and it's like any other skill, you just got to practice until you learn it. Thanks for the question, Erica. I hope this helps.